The mighty V8. When you think of a V8, you think of supercars, hypercars, big American muscle cars. But actually, it's been used all over the place, including by Morgan, a small company in the heart of Britain, which has been using them to great effect for 50 years. This is a Morgan Plus 8. Not just any Plus 8 though, it's the first. A car designed 50 years ago to add some extra pep to the Morgan lineup. The Plus 8 was the brainchild of Peter Morgan, son of Morgan Motor Company founder HFS Morgan. Peter joined the company in the late 1940s. His first job was the introduction of the Plus 4, but it's the Plus 8 that he's really known for. And at various points over the last 50 years, it's been credited with being both awesome and saving the company just a little bit. It was powered by a Rover V8 and introduced in 1968. And at one point, it was the fastest accelerating UK production car. Take that, Aston & Co. Over its life, the Plus 8 got tweaks to its power, gearbox and steering, all to make it a little sharper and a little more exciting than before. The Plus 8 was a huge seller for Morgan in the US, with a huge chunk of Morgan's cars heading stateside. Most of those were a V8 powered Plus 8. At the turn of the century, Morgan introduced another V8 to its lineup, the Aero 8. Powered by a 4.4 litre BMW Source V8 with 282 brake horsepower, and it was made using aluminium, making it a thoroughly modern MOG. Its look was a little bit not to everyone's taste, but it was more aerodynamically efficient. It was tweaked slightly later in the car's life. It would do 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds and go on to 160 miles an hour. Brisk for 2000 and still brisk for today. Morgan's two-pronged attack was pretty cool. There was something for the Morgan purist who wanted to look as though they'd just gone sideways from the 1940s, and then the retro-futurist approach with the Aero 8. But all good things. The Plus 8 was in continuous production from 1968 until 2004, when the Rover V8, originally a modified Buick engine, was killed, taking a fair few cars with it. This left Morgan with just one V8 in its lineup, the Aero 8, which, of course, over its life from the year 2000, got various power and styling upgrades and all that kind of stuff. But in the mid-2000s, something truly wonderful happened. The Aeromax appeared. Built at the request of a collector who liked the Aero 8 but wanted a hardtop, its designer, Matt Humphreys, did a blinding job. It remains one of the smartest looking cars out there, a joy to see and hear, and, if you're Charles Morgan, to hoon around in the snow. Powered by the Aero 8's 4.4 litre V8, it was both beautiful and quick. Side exit exhausts made a huge difference as well. Only 100 Aeromax were built, bespoke to each client. They were all just so, and they all sold out pretty quickly. There was a demand for more, which is why in 2009 Morgan introduced the Aero Supersport, and a little while later the Aero Coupe, a hardtop version of the Targa Top Supersport. They offered a few more livable tweaks, though looked largely the same as the Aeromax. Basically, they were pretty and awesome. The Aero Coupe was a stunning car, cool to drive in town slowly, fast and fun on country lanes. It was the balls, frankly, and as we're talking about it, we may as well show some footage of it looking super sexy on the streets of London at night. Its motor was a 4.8 litre BMW V8 with 367 brake horsepower and 370 pound-foot. The soundtrack was out of this world good, with burbles in all the right places. While the Aero cars were doing their thing, the car that started it all, the Plus 8, had not been forgotten about. It may have been resting since the early noughties, but in 2012 it returned with that new V8 under the bonnet, a new look, a new chassis, and well, a new everything. It was big, brash, and brutal, and frankly, a little bit ridiculous, especially the Speedster Special Edition. I mean, who needs a windscreen anyway? In 2015, the Aero lineup was streamlined to just one car, the new Aero 8. The same 4.8 litre V8, 0 to 62 in 4.5 seconds, a top speed of 170, and retro-futuristic looks to set it apart from any crowd. However, Morgan was only going to build 300 of them. Much as happened to the original Plus 8, the V8 that powered it was going out of production. BMW wasn't using it anymore and built the engine specifically for Morgan on its prototype production line, which is why, in 2018, Morgan is where it is. With 2 special edition limited run cars, that marks the end of the naturally aspirated Morgan V8. On the one hand, you can have a 50th anniversary special Plus 8 with design details based on the original Plus 8 itself, and you can even get a limited edition Christopher Ward watch to go alongside with a tiny bit of original Plus 8 in it to boot. And then we have this, the Aero GT, the most hardcore, most awesome aero ever built. With those though, the naturally aspirated Morgan V8 is gone. Who knows what'll power the fastest Morgans in future? Turbos, hybrid? I don't know. I'm sure it will be exciting. For now though, well, it's been a hell of a 50 years getting here.